to the Marina Skua podcast. My name's Marina. I'm a knitwear designer and yarn and fibre dyer based in the southwest of England. And today I'm going to be sharing some of the projects I'm working on. You can see I've got some spinning on the go, and I'm also going to be talking about my knitting and weaving. And there's also some yarn and fibre that I've dyed up. So because you've already seen it a bit already, I'll talk about my spinning first. I had hoped that this project would be finished sort of last week, this week, but such is the way of things. I've been very busy with other things, and so it's not done yet. But I'm very almost there. So I am spinning up this pale green feather blend. If you've watched before, you will have seen this because it's been going on for a very long time. But I now have 2 skeins finished. So the first one, which order did I spin them in? The first one is this one. It's 84 grams and 530 meters. And then this one is the second one I spun up, which is 117 grams and 761 meters. So spinning very fine yarn, and I suspect what I'm spinning now might be getting even finer, which is nice as like proving that I can spin fine yarn thing. That's nice. But for this project I'd like it to all be the same weight. I haven't checked wraps per inch on this yet, but of the 2 skeins I've got so far, the first one is 625 meters per 100 grams, and then the second one is 650 per 100 grams. So that's reasonably consistent. And the aim with this is to spin as fine as I can without fussing about it too much. Like, I could spin finer, but then it wouldn't be fun for me because I'd have to pay a lot more attention, and I like to just let my hands do their thing. So in my basket here, I've got my 2 skeins of this project. I've got 2 skeins of the yarn I'm going to weave it with, because this is for a weaving project. These are nice fat ones, really big chunky skeins. They are about 150 grams each, I think. Yes, approximately 150 grams each. And I think they're very slightly heavier weight than this yarn. This yarn I'll be using as the warp, and then this will be the weft. This one is slightly more loosely spun. This one is reasonably tightly spun, and it's also my feather blend, which is Wensleydale, Teeswater, Blueface Leicester and Shetland wool, so all British breeds. And the Wensleydale and Teeswater in particular are really long staple length breeds, so they're very lustrous. The Blueface Leicester is quite a lustrous one as well and has a decent staple length on it. The Wensleydale and Teeswater in particular are very long, and that gives the yarn really good tensile strength, which will be great for strength for weaving. And then I've got the bobbin that I finished last week, and then just the last handful of these little nests, which I'm going to be spinning up, and a tiny bit of the skewer blend that got snarled up. So yeah, I've just got this little handful left to spin up. I've got the rest on my bobbin just on the spinning wheel in front of me here. And if you want to see how I make these little nests, because this is, I'm spinning from what was hand-dyed comb top, a commercially prepared top, and I've prepared it in these nests that are really quite fine. Like, I have split them up and pre-drafted them a fair bit. So if you want to see how I do that in quite a quick video, there is a video which I released a couple of weeks ago for a different project with quite different fibre, but it shows my method for how I prepare my fibre for when I want to spin really fine yarn. And those videos don't tend to reach as many people, and so if you're not subscribed, you might want to go and check it out. And you might also want to subscribe if you want more project updates like that, just so that things are actually shown to you. So yeah, I'm going to be carrying on with spinning this. I might do a bit of spinning just while I'm chatting to you and hope that the clacking isn't distracting. But first I will show you more fibre that I've been dyeing. And these ones I'm dyeing up for Tetbury Wool Fair, which I'm mid-prep for at the moment. I had another event last weekend, so I've been working quite a lot recently and I mostly want to rest. Tetbury Wool Fair will be my final in-person event before I go on maternity leave at Christmas time. And as much as I love events, I'm kind of relieved because I am tired. And I'm looking forward to not having to carry as many boxes and be on my feet a lot. So looking forward to doing Tetbury, which will be really nice. It's a lovely show and that'll be lovely. And then I can chill out a bit more, hopefully. And so some of the things I have been dyeing for it, I am partially sitting on. So if I show you the one on Feather Blend first, because that's this one that I'm spinning, which is the really lustrous blend. This one, well, I've got a few colours that feel very much like what's happening outside at the moment. It's all really autumnal out there. The leaves are beginning to turn and there are so many things in the garden that are looking really pretty. And the other day I saw a tree that I suspected was a hawthorn, but the leaves were wrong. And it had really big hawthorn berries on it. And I looked it up and it's a Crataegus, which is hawthorn, prunifolia. And so it has leaves like a plum or sloe or any of the prunus family. And it was just the most beautiful thing. It had these massive berries on it, much bigger than like the hedge hawthorn that you get. And just the colours on it were beautiful. And then underneath it was, I think it was a viburnum that was flowering and it was scented and it was just the most amazing combination. And I now want to get one of those hawthorn trees for my back garden. There's lots of good autumn colour around and I am trying to capture that in my dyeing. So these ones I mostly haven't named yet, but I am going to be in a labelling frenzy for the next couple of days and we'll be doing that. So this one has these really nice sort of almost corally oranges and then some little bits of very muted green and kind of burgundy-ish purpley brown. And then it's turned out quite similarly to this one, which is on Solace Blend, which is Cotswold, Shropshire and Dorset Horn. So it's a very different feeling blend. It's got much more body and crimp to it. It does have a bit of luster from the Cotswold, but it's much more matte feeling. It's not nearly as smooth. And this one works really nicely for like 3-ply for cables. I've got quite a lot of, I've got 400 grams of the undyed yarn of this, well, the undyed fibre spun up as a 3-ply yarn upstairs, which I'm hoping to cast on something with maybe in the next couple of months. And this one has slightly more vibrant greens in it and less of the pinky colours, more towards the red. So if you can compare. And this one has a bit more of the natural colour showing through in places, which is something I deliberately do. Because these blends are really interesting and they're visually beautiful on their own, I like to sometimes let some of that natural colour show through. So this one, I do know what I'm going to call it. I'm going to call it Pippin, because it's all appley colours, and we have a type of pippin apple tree. It's a very small one. It was given to us by our very kind neighbours. They were getting rid of it and I don't know why. And so it has like a little bit of green, but then most of the on each apple, and then most of the apples have now turned this glorious rich red, and a couple of them fell off the tree the other day in the wind, and so I'm really excited to eat those. So this one's going to be called Pippin, and again that's on Solace Blend. The other one I have on Solace Blend is going much more into the pinky greens with a bit of teal. And then this one, it just has sections where there's like so much going on and just lots of different colours all kind of melding together. And I really enjoy that. It's one of the things I find really fun when spinning, rather than just going from like, we've got a magenta pink and then we've got like a slatey blue, having weird bits of transitional colours is something I aim for in quite a few of my colourways. I really like that one. I think for my own taste, the pink might be a bit pink, but I think it would spin up beautifully, especially as like a fractal or something. Then this one, I probably wouldn't spin as a fractal. This one I'd probably just do as a chaos spin and let everything sort of mush together, which is my preferred way of spinning. This is Skua Blend. So this is the same blend as these massive skeins here. It is the first blend I came up with, and it's designed to be really, really fun to spin and to have lots of really fun texture. And the natural colour is, it comes out as a sort of warm mid to dark grey, but very warm, like tending slightly towards brown. But then I've dyed these really dark colours on it, so you just have like little bits of yellow coming through, and then these really dark sort of inky bluey purples with flashes of red. And like there are some tiny bits of green in there, and again like lots of colours all mushing together in here. So if you like a sort of subtle, moody, ambient spin, this one's a really nice one. And then this one, these two I'm going to show you are on Tilth Blend, which is a naturally really dark blend. And this one I just wanted like green, just different shades of green, quite subtle, for, you know, because I like to dye up a mix of colours that are really fun to spin, but also things that when they are turned into yarn, I would then want to knit into clothing, or spin into clothing, or turn into clothing using some kind of further craft. And did I say spin into clothing? Definitely meant weave. I'm at the point where my brain thinks one word but a different one comes out of my mouth, which isn't great when you're trying to convey ideas to people and they don't know what thing is happening in your head. It's only going to get worse over the next few months. But so these kinds of colours I find much more wearable once they are made up into items, whether that be garments or accessories or whatever. So you've got some more like deep olivey, citrine bits here, like with quite an acidy yellow green, and then more classic kind of foresty greens there. And then the last, I shouldn't have finished on this one because it's slightly underwhelming, but it is a really nice colour. It's just a dark, like berryish burgundy. What did I call this one? It does have a name. Oh yeah, I called it blackberry jam because it looks exactly like the jam I made. Very tasty jam, very poor texture. This will have better texture than my jam did. Yeah, I put some hawthorn berries in the jam to help it set, but I was apparently overcompensating from my previous jam, which was very, very runny. And this one, you have to like carve it out of the jar with a knife and then like put bits of it on your toast, and you don't have a chance of spreading it. So you just have to hope that like you have to plan your mouthfuls around where the jam is distributed. It's not ideal, but it is very tasty. And it is exactly this like just really dark, moody, burgundy, pinky purple thing. I think it's coming out quite warm on here. It looks a tiny bit more purpley and less browny pinky in person. But yes, that will spin up very nicely. It would do a really nice combo spin with something like this. Ooh. So if you wanted the fun of like all the different interesting colours, but wanted your yarn to be a little bit more, not uniform, well, have a bit more uniformity to it, you could spin those and ply them together. And I find like picking out a dominant colour from a multicoloured top and then spinning a solid or semi-solid or tonal to go with it can lead to a really nice yarn. It would also work quite nicely with this one if you wanted a little bit more contrast between your plies and wanted a bit more of a visual mild effect. So yes, I do love a combo spin. And yeah, that leads nicely onto my knitting project, so I'll show you that next. So this one, I would be excited to show you the progress, but there's a good chance that progress is going to have to reverse direction. We've got a serious case of yarn chicken, and I don't think I can win. So I think last time I showed you this project, I just had a bit of the bottom of the body done. So this is hand spun yarn. Let's leave, as always, I have a bit of a yarn management situation going on because I'm alternating from various skeins and I'm doing sleeves, which I'm doing 2 at a time. And I will try it on to show you because I want your opinions. I'm going to have to switch needle setup to do so, but I thought that I was going to do that in preparation for this, but then thought I could actually show you how I transfer my stitches onto different cables, just in case, because I really like to use interchangeable needles to their full advantage, and it's just something that might not have occurred to people, especially if you like to do things 2 at a time for sleeves and stuff. So this is my pediment, which I am knitting. It's looking very beautiful. I love how the fabric is turning out. And where I was saying about plying together a more solid colour and a more variegated, interesting colour of top, this is the kind of result you can get. Where you've got, like I've got this sludgy green that runs throughout the garment, but you also have areas of little pops of different colour coming through. So this is how much I've done of the sleeves. I did lots of calculations based on my spreadsheets, how many stitches I know are in the pattern, how much yarn I have left. Well, and then I have this, which is slightly different, It's because this is a 3-ply yarn, 3 different fibres plied together. This has 2 of the same plies and 1 less of one of the ones in here, if that makes sense. This is what I'm using for the hem and cuffs and neckband. So I know I have enough of that. However, this is not enough yarn to knit full length sleeves for these gangly arms. It's just not. And so and I think the calculations are not working out partially because the yarn varies quite a lot in weight. And so I don't exactly know how many meters I have left here, because my meterage estimate is based on an average across the whole skein, and you can't get granular enough as to how many meters are in this particular bit of the skein. So full length sleeves as written in the pattern, not currently feasible. So my options are, firstly, frog the sleeves back to where I picked up the stitches, have it be a sleeveless thing. I don't know if that would work. I haven't actually tried it on yet, so when I try it on, we'll have a look and see what I think. I did go for a size larger than I usually would for this design because I wanted it to be a bit oversized and baggy, which is fine as a whole jumper, and I knew I was cutting it fine with the yarn I had, so this is my own fault entirely. But I don't think the baggy oversized thing is going to work particularly nicely with a drop sleeve on my frame, but we shall see. Other option to try and salvage it and do full-size sleeves that doesn't involve frogging the whole thing and making a size smaller is I did stupidly just get too into the flow of knitting when I was doing the body, and I carried on for a couple of extra centimetres on the body. So I could frog the sleeves, frog both tops of the body to below where I split, take some length out because I know that I've got some length to spare, and then reclaim a couple of centimetres worth of yarn from there, and a couple of centimetres in the body will equate to more centimetres in the sleeves because there are more stitches in the body than there are in the sleeves. That's a lot of frogging, but I think that's probably the sensible thing to do. Other option would be to just continue and go as far as I can with the yarn I have and maybe do like 3/4 length sleeves. I reckon maybe I could get to like here. I'm not sure. So I have put this on hold for a few days, which is annoying because I've really wanted to be knitting and I haven't had the brain space to cast on something new. So I've just been doing spinning and weaving instead. But yeah, let's get this so that I can try it on and you can let me know what you think. So we have our 2 sleeves here, and what I'm going to do is I've got a spare cable. These ones I'm using are swivelly cables, so you can turn the needles without the cable twisting, which is really handy for this. And it's not essential. It just means that you need to manipulate the cables a lot less. And then I have quite a few of these little cable connectors. Tiny little things, very, very useful. Is literally just a tube with a screw thread that you can fasten your cable into. And then we can take the needle off one end, attach this onto there, pull the stitches of one sleeve through then I've already got an end cap on one end. Unscrew this. This is where, if you don't have the swivelly needles, your cables end up flapping all over the place as they try to do this, which just gets quite frustrating. And then another end cap on here. Behold, separated sleeves. Right. If we take this one off, this is my beach mast jumper, by the way. I released the pattern last year, and there will be a link to it in the description below if you would like to make one yourself. And I'm very tempted to make another one because it's just a thing of joy. Right, let's try this one on. Which way round are we? There we go. I have to remember that I've got a needle and a connector on that end rather than end caps, so I need to not forget and accidentally lose a load of stitches, which I'm probably going to do anyway, but this dress was not the correct choice for trying this on. So yeah, I haven't actually seen how it's looking. So, you know, obviously with matters of fit, factors are going to be changing in the future because I am not going to be this shape for ages. And it's hard to visualize how it's going to look once I'm no longer incubating a human. Really like the little side wedge. But yeah, so I think if I continue with the yarn I have, plus this bit on the floor, the pattern is written for a double neckline that's folded over and stitched down. I could sacrifice the double neckline, go single neckline, use the yarn I save of this to do an extra long cuff, which might gain me a bit more length. But if I feel like if I carry on with what I've got, I'll end up with sleeves that probably come to a bit below my elbow, like 3/4 length sleeves here. Just not judging off maths, but going off vibes, based on how much yarn I've used for the sleeves so far. So my options are to plough on regardless and accept whatever length the sleeves come out. It could be quite nice. I think it would work well for, like, with this dress that has just above elbow length sleeves. And I would probably decrease the sleeves a little bit faster, just to get them to fit nicely below the elbow. Or I can frog back what I've done of the sleeves, go sleeveless, do a little bit of ribbing just on there, and if I just tuck this quickly out of the way, that would sort of look something like that. And then obviously you've got more neckline depth there to bring things in a little bit. I feel like going with the extra ease here. There's not loads of ease, but there is some. I feel like that's just a bit, it's going to be a bit shapeless and possibly sloppy looking, but I'm not sure. And then final option, which is probably the right option, but I don't want to have to frog half of the jumper, is to just take some length out of here. So frog this and this and this, take some length out of here, bring us up to like here-ish, and then not even that much. And then we've definitely got enough for the proper length sleeves. And that is a length of jumper that I will wear. I have no problem with losing that bit of length. I sincerely regret knitting extra. I was in the zone. I was enjoying my hand spun yarn and a nice bit of plain stockinette. And so what do we think? What would you do if this was your project? How would you go? I am stuck. I have put this on hold for a few days. I'm going to put it on hold for a little bit longer while I both collect opinions and get over how cross I am. I want to say with the project, but actually just with myself, because it's all of my own decisions that have led me here. So I will do whatever it is I'm going to do with it, probably in a couple of weeks' time, once I've gained some insight from other people and feel ready to go back to it. And then, in the meantime, while that one is in the naughty corner, thinking about what it's done, I will probably cast on something new. This is one I have had queued up for a while. In fact, I got my patrons to choose between the handspun pediment jumper and the Black Isle Yarn scrumper waistcoat. And so now that the pediment jumper has betrayed me, I think it's time for the scrumper waistcoat to shine. Now, there are certain colours I like quite a lot. This is yarn from Black Isle Yarns. I bought it a long time ago. I bought it in 2019 when I went to Edinburgh Yarn Festival. I think it was the last one that happened. And the right project has never called to me, but now I think it is ready to become a scrumper waistcoat. And I've made a couple of versions previously. I made my original one in John Arbon Textiles Appledore DK. This yarn that I'm wearing is Appledore Aran. This is a limited edition colour I designed called Fallen Leaf, which is no longer in stock because it was very popular, which is lovely. But they have loads of lovely other colours. I really want to make a cardigan version of this in a dark green colour, which I believe is called Hangy Down. Go and look at all of the colourway names because they're all fantastic. They're all named after West Country apples and it's great. Sidebar. I also have a cropped, so the original version was quite long. I then have a cropped, more fitted version that I made in a smaller size, which I love. I've been wearing it a lot at the moment because it just kind of sits neatly on top of the bump and lets my skirts kind of do their thing, because I'm basically just wearing dresses and skirts now because trousers are not the one. And I feel like a version with a bit more positive ease, but again cropped, would be really fun and cute. And especially when I'm back to wearing like trousers and things, I think that slightly top heavy silhouette could be really fun. And so this yarn is lighter weight than the pattern specifies. Pattern specifies a DK weight. This is a 4-ply running on sport, I believe. It says it's a 4-ply, 305 meters per 100 grams. I would say that's fairly heavy for a 4-ply. I'd say that's running into a sport weight. And it has the most beautiful like little boucle thing going on. It's a long wool blend. Sorry, I'll tell you a bit more about this yarn. It is called Long Wool Blend, Cotswold, Wensleydale and Lincoln Long Wool. Clipping year 2018. It's been a while. yarn doesn't go off. Recommended needles 3 to 4.5 millimeters. So I think that range of needle size is because you've got this little boucle effect. So I can get away with a slightly larger needle size, so knitting it as if it's a DK. I may make some adjustments. I'll do a bit of swatching. I have an old swatch here from where I was just trying out some things. It's still attached to the yarn. I will be undoing it because it's already undoing itself. This is useless to me because other than showing me what it looks like knitted up, which is useful, but I don't know what needle size I used. I probably did this little swatch like 4 years ago or something. It's not helpful. But I've got 200 grams of this, and I think it would be really lovely, and I definitely would have enough yarn for that project. And then, yeah. So that is what I have queued up. I think it's going to be the most autumnal thing ever. I think it's going to pair really nicely with the sort of floaty, big, billowy things that I'm wearing at the moment. And it'll have buttons, which will be very useful in the next, like, year and a half or so, because of feeding stuff. Buttons are great. Yeah. So I think I will be casting that one on fairly soon, probably as a treat for once I've finished my spinning. And yeah, so that is the next upcoming one. So I will now show you some yarn, which I should have showed you when I was showing you the things I was dyeing up for Tetbury. And I'm showing you these things because even though I suspect many of you will not be going to Tetbury Wool Fair, being an international community as we are, if they don't all sell out at Tetbury, which would be delightful if they did, it's unlikely. So they will then be going, any remainders will be going on my website, and my patrons will get first dibs because that's how we manage stuff now with limited editions and things, and people were getting cartjacked and it was all a bit difficult. So patrons get access 24 hours before everyone else. And then stuff goes live to the general public. So if you want to join Patreon and get that and loads of other benefits, then yay, there's a link in the description bar below. If you don't, but you do want to hear about when stuff comes out, join my newsletter, because that is the most speedy and efficient way to know that doesn't involve paying for stuff and also doesn't rely on like social media algorithms, because no. So this colour, I am going to call it Bramble. I'm apparently all about the blackberries at the moment. I made a bramble skirt last month. I've called a colourway Blackberry Jam, and this one is called Bramble. It's just so brambly though. Look how autumn hedgerow it is. Limited edition colour. It's on my Mendip DK yarn. I love it so. I would be genuinely tempted to make something for myself out of this, because it's so moody. It's got the burgundies and dark greens that I love wearing, and I think look okay on me. I don't know what colours actually suit me. I go back and forth on whether I care or whether I should just continue to wear the things that make me happy, which is mostly what I do anyway. But these colours I think work well on me, and it's just so delicious. So yes, those ones will be going with me to Tetbury as well. And yes, if they do not vanish there, they will be on the internet within the next couple of weeks, depending when I manage to get them photographed and listed. It's all juggling at the moment. I have been putting off sitting down at the computer and doing lots of pattern manipulation. I have lots of things that the rights have come back to me, and I need to go through and put them into my own style, because they were published in other publications that have different style guides, and I prefer to publish things in my own style because I pride myself on the clarity of my patterns and I like them to be as consistent as I can. And so I need to go through and do that and lay them out and put them into nice PDFs and stuff. But that's a lot of computer work that I haven't really had headspace for. So been putting that off. And yes, I haven't talked about it because it isn't in front of me. But my weaving, I have been sitting at the loom a lot recently. I've really been enjoying it, but I've had to set myself a little target of like sitting at the loom for 15 minutes a day. And if I don't manage to do 15 minutes that day, that's fine, no pressure, but then I need to do half an hour the next day. And it's usually the case that once I am sitting at the loom, once I've made that time, I am quite happy to sit there and weave for quite a while. It's mostly just carving out that time because it means going upstairs and sitting on my own rather than being down here. And if I'm doing knitting or spinning, I can be in the same room as my husband and watch stuff together. But I've been trying to time it so that if he goes out running or something in the evening, I can then weave when I'm on my own anyway. And I am loving how the cloth is turning out. I'm really excited about it because it was a really ambitious project. Like, I've done not loads of weaving. I would consider myself probably not like an intermediate weaver. I haven't done very ambitious things in terms of drafts and patterns and interesting techniques. But I am trying to weave cloth for sewing rather than like scarves and tea towels and things. No shade on that. I am pursuing more efficient production of cloth so that I can weave fabric to sew with, which has some qualities that are slightly different from... I'm not phrasing this well. I have so far been weaving on a rigid heddle loom. I got as much as I could out of the rigid heddle loom. I then jumped from a fairly small sampler project on the big floor loom that I got to let's immediately weave the maximum width and length that I can with what I've got at the moment at very fine set. So set is like gauge, so that's how many warp threads you have per width. So I'm weaving at 27 EPI now, 32 inches wide. For people who like numbers, I like the numbers, so I'm going to give you some of the numbers. 27 EPI, 32 inch-ish width, 868 ends. An end is a warp thread. And so it was a lot of threading, it was a lot of time. But now that I'm weaving, it's fairly fun. So what I often do is put a little scrap of yarn, just loop it into my selvage where I start weaving. And I'm timing this project because I think it's interesting. Even though I never do that usually, I never time my craft projects because I find it a bit depressing. But with this one, I'm kind of obsessing over it to see how actually, if you were going to pay an hourly wage to someone for making this, how much would that look like once it's finished? But also, I am learning a lot. I know that I am not as efficient as I'm going to be. I'm already much faster than I was, and I'm improving like each time I do a bit more weaving. So that is, yeah, it's nice. Just like little tweaks and working out how to manage my selvages in a way that is both striving for neatness, I can't just say neat, striving for neatness, and also efficient, because I can do neat selvages if I'm like hand manipulating the weft thread every time I throw the shuttle, but that makes it very slow. Whereas if I do it in a way that's more efficient, I'm still finding that my selvages are a little bit messy. So I am trying to balance those things and work towards efficiency and neatness at the same time. And so, yeah, deliberately working on something to try and get good at it is not something I'm great at. But as long as I'm not so bad at it that it's really discouraging, I'm kind of fine. I've been talking about this a lot with spinning recently because I've done some spinning demonstrations in person lately. Again, brain is betraying me on the word front, and considering I like words, hits deep. I've been doing in-person spinning demonstrations, and it's so easy to get discouraged, like especially with spinning, that's such a muscle memory thing with how you move your fingers and how you draft the fibre and trying to coordinate all of these movements. I spent ages when I was a beginner spinner, like right at the beginning, almost 10 years ago now, like looking up what it was I was doing wrong and why my yarn was so lumpy and inconsistent and not smooth and fine. And it's a muscle memory thing. Like there are things you can do, like I was under twisting both in my spin, but especially my ply. I can still tend to underply, and these days try to overply just a tiny bit because that gives a yarn I like. But my advice to like spinners who are just starting out or getting going but still not where they want to be is just keep going. Like it's frustrating, but it's one of those things that will come with time. And so I'm trying to remind myself that with the weaving, like your selvages are a mess. For this particular project, it doesn't matter that much because you're doing a trial run before going on to something where it matters a little bit more. But even so, it's sewing cloth, like cloth to make things out of, is going to be cut up. Those selvages are going to be hidden in seams. It's not a scarf. It's not something that needs to be on display. So I'm trying to give myself some grace, which I'm not very good at. But yes, so I've been thoroughly enjoying the weaving. I am still undecided on whether I am going to cut off my sample piece before proceeding with the rest of the warp, because I'm weaving two different things on the same warp, using the same weft yarn, just dyed differently. And I think I am happy enough with how it's turning out that I might just carry on with the next bit without cutting it off and finishing it and seeing how we're looking, because that wastes a bit of yarn. Like when you cut off the warp threads, you can keep all of the threading and everything, so you don't need to redo all of that, but then you need to tie it back on to the loom, and so you just lose some warp length by doing that, and that feels wasteful. And so, yes, I think I'm actually quite happy with the fabric as turning out, and I'm pleased with it, and I can't wait to see how it's going to look once it's all washed and everything. But yeah, I mean, the weaving, it probably won't show again until either I'm onto the next bit or I've got it off the loom, because it is just more of the same. Because one of the things with weaving is once you've got it set up and going and started rolling cloth onto the front beam, it's like it's more of the same. So yes, I think I shall leave it there for now. Oh no! Quick one with the weaving and the spinning. I wanted to seek opinions. Not opinions, recommendations. I asked on Instagram a little while ago. I am looking for books about pre-industrial textile production, sort of cottage industry type stuff, medieval, Viking, like going back to prehistoric is all cool. I'm interested in the details of the fabric themselves. I have no objection to like the design of the clothing. I would like to know about the function of the fabric in the context of the clothing, but I want the dorky details about twist and which direction it goes in and how much, and whether we're using singles or plied yarn, and what kinds of fibres we're using and what kinds of equipment is being combined together. All of that stuff. Super interested. So I've got this book, Dress in Anglo-Saxon England. You can see by my bookmark. I've not got very far through. I think I'm still in the, yes, historical framework section, where I'm just being told, like, historically what's actually going on, and what sort of archaeological digs the pieces that are going to be discussed are from, and sort of movements of peoples and all of that stuff. So I haven't got into the actual dress and textile stuff yet. And as far as I can tell, most of the book will be focusing on clothing, and then there's a section at the end on the actual textiles and textile production, which I'm really looking forward to, and I think that'll be really fun. And so I'd like to ask you, do you have recommendations for anything in that kind of genre, subgenre, niche? I have been recommended so far, just so we don't get repetitions, The Valkyrie's Loom. That is looking like a really good one. I will be on the lookout for a probably second-hand copy, probably paperback, because it looks like that's a pricey one. Medieval Dress Reconstructed. That one I have only found ridiculously expensive and in Danish, so that might be a case of like looking out again secondhand and libraries and charity shops and things. What are the other ones? Bog Fashion, I think, is more like project based. I've not read it. I'd like to hear what people think. If you've read it, if you know someone who has a copy, I'd love to hear your thoughts on that one and how much detail it goes into on like actual archaeological finds. I'm trying to think if any of the other ones that were recommended like made it into my yes, this is what I'm looking for box. But I think that those are the front runners. So I realise this is very niche, but anyone who has any recommendations on books along those lines, I would really love to hear about them, because I am hopefully queuing up some reading for when I will likely be stuck on the sofa quite a lot in the future, and so I want to try and keep my brain going. So yeah, whistle stop tour of the chaos that is, yeah, everything. I think I'm splitting myself across too many things, but I'm enjoying them so much, and I can't just sit and focus on one thing, so yay. I hope you have enjoyed this, and if you have enjoyed it, please leave a comment, subscribe, like this video so that future ones might show up in your feed, and I shall catch you next time. So until then, bye bye.